Hello everybody. In this video I want to show you how to do your backend server. We learned how to use or how to consume an API, external API, and what I want to do through here in this video is, or probably the next two videos, is how to create your own backend server and not rely on somebody else or on other services. Which is good when you're creating your own application, your full stack application, or when you have some constraints about validation or some constraints about where the data needs to be stored, things like that. It's really important to understand what we need to do and how we need to actually allow it to create it. So let's see how long we can actually go. So for now, as you can see, I'm in my console right now. I will create a new folder, and it's going to be just a simple example. This is actually not going to be the server, but I want to go through a couple of concepts here. So the way to create it is we need to start doing a folder, something like this. Then we need initialize this to be a node application. The way to do it is with the npm init command, and that's it. When we do the git application, we have a template to be applied. In this case, we don't have a template. We're going to create a new one. But before we execute it, let me just show you the content. If I list it, I don't have anything in that folder. The folder is empty. We will create init, enter, and this is going to create a package.json. Package.json is the file that will detect the entry points and the dependencies for my application itself in order to use Node in the server level. Remember, JavaScript in the past was running only on the browser. That's what we actually be doing with the Vue application. The Vue app is running on the browser. With Node, we actually run JavaScript on the server side, and then we can generate something to be sent to the front end. In this example, we can actually see what we can actually do. So first, we're going to give you a package name. Let's put like node-example. Version 1 is fine. Description, learning basic node. Let me put it like this. Ending point, yeah, index.js is fine. I don't have a test command. I don't have a Git repository yet, and no keywords. Let's put my name here. This is okay. Yes, I just click enter. And now I have a package.json file there. This package.json have this information that we can actually see right here. It gives you the main concept of the application, like the layout, not the layout itself, like a declaration, and all the dependencies that we're going to be installing for npm is going to be saved in this particular file. So let me actually open this in my code editor. Okay. Let me open a new terminal here, and let's continue through here. So let me create my index.js file. Oh, sorry, code. So we'll create an index.js file. It's there. I need to save it in order to be in my folder, as you can see it. And I can contain simple, and I really showed this when we did the development environment. Hello there. And we just node index. That's going to be the output, right? Every time that we execute it, we want to have this console there. Perfect. Now we need to do a change, something like that, and we secure it again. We have that change to be reflected. Now, why it is working? Because we have not installed it. As you can see, in this case, I have no 15.12 at the moment, npm.v. So that allows me to execute it and create the package.json and execute JavaScript in a server environment. That's pretty much the basic concept. We can continue doing, let's do cons x equal 2, cons j equal 3, and there you go. And then to console.log x plus y. And I execute my node index. At my hello there, I'm at number 5 of the additions that we have right here. We can have a cons, so it's going to be s comma y, a function, and this will return the x plus y. And if I do console.log like this, we have 5 going to be printed twice. This is the basic concept. So we start creating a JavaScript file. That JavaScript have different functions, interoperability, and doing different stuff. We have a couple of constants here. We imprint the direct sum. We create a function called sum that set 2 parameters, and those parameters returns the addition of those, and then we print the result of this particular sum. So as you can see, JavaScript helps us just to create a new, how can I say it, a new file. So this is the basic concept of Node works on the server. And we can actually, there is an API that we can actually create a server from Node and start handling HTTP requests. There is objects here and there that we can require. But there is frameworks too, and in this case the framework is going to help us a little bit better to understand how to actually create that application. So for the framework that we're going to be using Express.js. It is the most common one. I know that it's not being updated lately, but it's one of the most common ones utilizing Node.js, and it has basic concepts that we can understand really easy about the routing and how these things are going to work. For this project, it's going to be needed, and let me just put this on the side, these two. I already created, well, I forked some instruction that I like it, and I changed pieces that I to my convenience, and it's going to create a new project set up from scratch for a Node.js application. It's going to be important also, this was for the last video actually, but it's going to be really important to understand Express.js. This is going to be the server web framework that we're going to use on top of this, but I will recommend to have a REST API client. So Insomnia REST is one of the best tools that we can have, is how to test API calls pretty much in an application. You can use this one, or you can actually use Postman, and this is going to be needed for this video. So you can use any of those two or any other ones that you can have, like a REST API testing application. That should be fine. So this project setup, what it does, not only to this, is how to create an environment that is going to be a modern environment for us, and it will help us develop using the latest and greatest of the JavaScript world. Well, remember, JavaScript is get iteration every year, and every year new functionalities added. Sorry. Sometimes that functionality takes a long time to implement in the basic frame, in the basic layout, but through Bubble will help us to implement a new addition in the current project, and so will allow us to have a more modern application. When we be using Bit app, Bubble is already pre-installed, so we already have that new functionality in there. But what I want to show you is how to actually create it from scratch, and I want to do it following this guide. So let's start from scratch. Let me actually get rid of my node sample folder. I don't need it anymore. And let's create a new directory. Let's call the server node. So the first thing that we need create a directory, and we need to do the npm init. We're going to call server node version 1. It's going to be a basic REST API server. My entry point, I call this later, but yes, it's going to be actually source index.javascript. Test command, I don't have it. On the repository and no keywords. I will put my name in here and I put my personal email. And there you go. Everything looks good for me. Let me open this with my Visual Studio Code. And let me put on the left. Let me create a new terminal from here. So let's continue working on this. So the structure that I'm suggesting here is to have the project. We need to have source directory with an index file, and that will everything going to be deployed, and everything else is going to be outside of the root directory of the project, including the packaging. So we need to make a source directory, and I already messed up. So let me move my service to actually be source. There you go, source. And let's create a source index.js file. And let me save it. Perfect. I have it like that. Cool. After I have that, I can go to my package.json and I see that actually deploying from a source index JavaScript file is what I needed to have. Cool. Now that I have that, other things that we need to be running is, what I recommend is to use nodemon. Nodemon is a tool that helps us develop JavaScript Node.js files based on application, and this will automatically restart when the application changes. So the same way that we actually saw in it. So we need to save this, install these dependencies as a development. This is going to be create my node modules folder, and we'll be adding the development dependencies to nodemon, as you can see right here. And it will just allow us to have like a server to be running always, and whenever we have a change, that will allow us to how can I say it? To restart the server. So let's do, for example, console.log hi. Let's do nodemon, and to run nodemon from here is npx nodemon source index. So we have hi there, and it's actually see that clean exit. I mean that it finishes. So you change this to hello there, and I save it. You get restarted, and we automatically have the output there. So that's what nodemon does for us. We just execute the server, and it's waiting in changes, and those changes are going to be reflected right away. It's pretty much what it does. So let me get out from that. And that's ready. Second most important install bubble is a tool to use when you ECMAScript from 2015 to 2021 at the moment that I record this video, and will allow us to have those cooler commands. So in order to save it, the same is going to be in development environment. We just copy those, paste them, and we will saw all those dependencies. You can see all those are right here. Perfect. So now we need to create a Babel RC file. So you create code, Babel RC. I'm in the server root, and I will just copy and paste this content. Perfect. And that will allow me to use modern JavaScript. Now, the next step, this part is optional, but I like that a lot. But to have easily Airbnb configuration and trigger there. Airbnb we have a really good JavaScript configuration that pretty much give you the layout, how things need to be done, how keywords need to be marked, what kind of spaces you need to handle, you need to have curly brackets, when you're going to jump, like a new lines, things like spacing between variables, things like that, right? And it's a really good thing to have like some kind of formatter, and that formatter will allow us to have more consistency across the board. So this part is optional, but I really like it to use it. So what I'm going to do is just copy all this, paste them, say all this. At the same time, this part optional too. If you're doing this, you need to do this next section. So I will open my Peter RC, and I will put my liking to have trailing comma, my tab width to be 2 spaces, remove all the semicolons, and have single quotes across the board. It's pretty much where I like it. And then for the ESLint rules, we want to follow the best practices. So we used to use this one, create this file, and we paste all this, and we have everything integrated right now. And let's repeat it. As you can see, we don't have a problem. Console log is not recommended to have it in a Node.js server, and we can see that later, how we can actually get away from that. Now, we need to add, and let me return to my terminal here. An ESLint ignore, we need to say to the ESLint rule which files need to skip it. So we need to skip everything that's going to be in my node modules and everything that's going to be compiled, and we're going to compile code here. So Babel, what we're going to be doing, it will take modern JavaScript, and that modern JavaScript will transpile it to a JavaScript that is understandable to everybody, and you will see that later. After we have all that, I recommend you, so all this to the moment, the ESLint, Peter, and this installation, these 3 sections are the optional ones. I really recommend you to have those. After you have them, this is not optional, except with this one. If you did the ESLint section, you need to add this one there. If not, it's okay. It's pretty much go to the package.json, go to the script section, and in the script section, it's going to be changed with these scripts. Those scripts are pretty much the ones that we're going to use to start creating the application. For example, you saw me execute nodemon in order to open the file. Now I'm creating a script called development dev that will execute my nodemon in that particular file, but through the compiler of the modern JavaScript. That's pretty much. So instead of doing npx nodemon source, let me console this. I will just do npm run dev, and we have the same basic concept. Hello there. If I go to my index file and change this to hello, save it, my server gets restarted, get compiled, and get printed right away. It's pretty much what it does. Cool. So let me just remove everything from my index. I don't like that warning. As you can see, it was yellow line. It's a warning. It's not an error, but that's the kind of things that you can actually see that ESLint does for you. Something really important. Excuse me. Something really important now is let's add our Git repository. Let's start keeping track of everything. For that, we need to create a gitignore file. And the gitignore could be a little bit complicated to use, but we use something like this command, npx gitignore. We'll go to the cloud, we'll go to gitignore dependencies. It asks you to install the you say yes, right? I already had it in my computer. And we'll create a gitignore for a node server. That gitignore for node server already have everything that we can actually have there. overage files, buffer components, node modules, are already typed to be the env development and environment variables, for example, the distribution, everything is already there. The ones that I'm not sure if it's there, let me go to for build. Yeah. I think compiler binaries and yeah, everything is pretty much the way that it's supposed to. And the only thing that we need to do, and I didn't put it here, just in case, add build at the end. That's going to be the directory that we're going to be using to compile our code. That's right. So we have that. We just initialize Git. We add everything. And we init. And we commit our first change. And now we have a full server. Now, if you want to have it integrated, I recommend you to install Preader and ESLint. Remember, if you go to here, we already did those before. Look for Preader in the marketplace, install it. Look for ESLint in the marketplace, install that one. And if you do a control comma for the user setting, or go to code file, where is it? Somewhere there, preference probably. Yeah, preference settings, I can see it here. And look for format on save. You will see that I already have it enabled, so I already have it true. So that will allow me to type something and that get changes to the best practice the way that it's supposed to. So I can actually do npm run dev to my server, and I create a new file. Let's call this some.javascript, and I can do export const. Let's change this to math stuff. Some, and this is going to be taking two variables. I'm going to be returning the addition of those two, right? And let's do export from, I don't know, multiplication. I don't know how to put that. We'll take two, as you can see. Then this one I will return x by j. If I save this, you can see here that I have problem with my linting, right? It's the limit that I don't have the proper spaces, don't need those spaces and things like that. If I save it, everything gets spaced out the way that it's supposed to. It's working fine. And now I can go to this. I can do import from math stuff, and let's actually import just the multiplication section. It's complaining that I imported and it's not in use, so I need to use it. So let's do console.log and multiplication of x and y. Let's do 3 and 5. I don't know. Save it, and by default we get printed by 15 again. So this import statement is newer in the JavaScript world. So it's a new way how to actually import modules and all. So with that we can see that everything is working the way that it's supposed to. And I will show you a way how to get rid of this console log, because console log at the server side are not really good option. We need to handle some kind of better logger in order to call those. So console logs are good for the console in the browser, but not good on the console on the server side. Probably you will never start it. So that's pretty much what is happening there. But other than that, I believe that should be. So let's delete everything. Let me go and remove my math stuff. folder. File, I don't need it. And everything's running perfect. Let me get out from the server, and I will go to my browser. Oh, I have the application here, the last one. Let me close this. There you go. I don't need this anymore either. Okay, now that we have here, let me clear it. Let me npm run that. And how the server is running. And what we need to be doing now is how to create or how to do our Express server itself. To do the Express server will allow us to handle those HTTP requests and will help us to implement HTTP server that need to be handled. Doesn't make sense the way that I say it, sorry, but let me actually show you how it needs to be done. So let's import Express to get started installing. And we just need to create pretty much install Express. So we'll install a bunch of packages that's going to be there. And let's go through the guide. Hello world. This is the old way to do the application. We will do something like this, but the idea is to import Express, create an instance of that Express, assign it a port, create a route to send something, and then start listing in that particular port. And that's it. That's everything that we need to be doing. And with less than, well, it says 11 here, but you can see about less than 10 lines, you can have a HTTP server working the way that it's supposed to. So let me just translate this to a little more newer JavaScript. So instead of creating a required element, it's going to be import Express from Express. There you go. And then we do ghost application equal to Express server. Now let's create a port. Let's execute const port equal 3000. The application get, and we go to the root call. We're going to have a function here that's going to be doing something about this particular call. This function will have my request object and my response object. The request everything that came from the client, and the response everything that's going to be delivered to the client, and we can verify and see things through those. So the only things that we're going to be doing right now is going to request.send, and I will send a JSON file message. Hello there. Then my application is going to list it in my port number. That's it. That's it. Okay, so we're running. If I go to localhost 3000 request, oh yeah, sorry, I need to respond something, not request. So I'm intending to respond the request everything that came from the client. So good thing that we have nodemon already working. That means if I refresh it, I have my JSON file, and this has really cool JSON. It's pretty hello there. Working the way it's supposed to. With that simple, we have an API that responds with a message. It's a static message, I know, but it's already doing something. If I open my Insomnia, I already have it folder. Let me create a new folder. We call this node example. and my first get root, that's the root directory. So I will make a simple call to localhost for 3000, and I send that. I just respond the same way that you see it, my hello there. And this is going to be the new way to actually see those requests, and the one that's going to be interacting with our application. So with this, we just created a new app in Node.js and using Express framework in a modern environment, and it's actually working the way that it's supposed to. I will stop right here. So let me just add everything and we'll put added Express. Yes. I will commit those. And on the next video, I will continue doing a full CRUD application, probably to save nodes, something, I don't know, but I'm not sure what we will do, but I want to show you how to create, how to update, how to delete, how to query a database through Node.js and respond those through JSON files the way that we did it right now. So hope that you like it. Any question, any doubt, remember, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.